gorgeous and magnificent day. My name is TatiV, and if you are a true crime lover like me, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I try my best to post twice a week, that is Mondays and Fridays. I post true crime content in ASMR, so if you're wondering why I'm whispering, this is an ASMR channel. If that is of any interest to you, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. So I don't have a first comment winner because, like I said on my community tab, I am like recording several videos. So this was supposed to be Monday's video instead of Friday's video, and another video was supposed to be out on Friday, which is today, February 11th. But that video is not ready, so that's going to be my Monday video, and this is going to be my Friday video. So I do have a winner from my last video, which is the Lawrence Smithfield's video. So I do have a first comment winner that will be in my video on Monday, not on this video. So that's why I don't have a first comment winner. I don't even know if that made sense. I hope you all got that. But anywho, today's video I'm going to be reading my true crime book. Many stories in this book. I'm going to be purchasing another true crime book, so if you all have any suggestions of the books that you would like for me to read, leave them down below. And I did get this off Amazon if you're interested. So today's video is going to be, let me find it, the tiger appearance. Let's go ahead and get into today's video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a true crime in story format. Warning, this video may contain details of graphic content. This channel is for mature audiences only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. Tiger parenting is a term used to describe a style of strict, demanding parenting popular within the Chinese community. Every parent wants their child to achieve greatness of some sort, whether it be sports, the arts, or academia. But a tiger parent is save enough to send their kids to the best schools and make sure they were eligible for any possible scholarships. They wanted to make absolutely sure that Jennifer and Felix lived a more plentiful life than they did. Okay, so I'm gonna pause here because I do have some opinions about this. I appreciate the parenting. Okay, they want their kids to go to the best schools and they want their kids to have a great stress-free life. But what I don't like is the control. I don't like how they have everything planned out for their kids to go to school. What if they don't want to go to school? So I really don't like when parents like run their kids' lives. Like for me, if I was them and I had that much money saved up, I would ask my child, what do you want to do after high school? Okay, you want to start a business? I have money to invest in your business. Okay, you want to go to school? I have money to invest so you can go to a school that you want, not that I want for you. And I think like parents, some parents have to learn that they can't run their child's life. Like, they can't do that. You just have to let your child explore and figure out themselves. That's just my opinion, and I may be wrong. I don't know. Their firstborn, Jennifer Pan, showed potential at an early age. By the age of 4, she was already taking piano lessons. Wow. Proving to be exceptional. In her elementary school years, she started figure skating. Some evenings, Big and Han would keep her up practicing until 10 p.m. Wow. And then homework until midnight. That's a lot of pressure for a child. That's a lot of pressure put on a child. Let's keep going. At graduation from middle school, Jennifer was expected to be valedictorian of her class, but was turned down. She was devastated, and her parents even more so. Okay, the pressure on Jennifer was immense, more than a girl in her early teens could handle. She told her friends that she would just put on her happy mask, but deep down she was suffering and began cutting her forearms with tiny cuts. Jennifer attended high school at Mary Ward Catholic Secondary School in Toronto. The school was known for its unique self-directed learning program with uncommonly high academic standards. Jennifer fitted in well and got along with almost everyone. Her parents monitored her after-school activities closely, in which she became an avid swimmer and practiced wushu, which is a Chinese form of kung fu. Okay. In band class, Jennifer excelled at playing the flute. She was an accomplished ice skater. Her skills began to slip, literally. A second place in a skating competition just wasn't enough for her. Demanding parents and her confidence began to slip. Wow, she came in second place and it still wasn't good enough. Wow. Her parents were really hard on her. I felt so bad for her. At one point, she was an Olympic hopeful in figure skating, but those hopes were quashed when she tore a ligament in her knee. In earlier years, Jennifer was a straight A student, but by excel if they're not getting enough rest. Okay, anyways, I digress. Knowing that a C or even a B wasn't going, a B is good, they was tripping, wasn't going to sit well with her parents, Jennifer got creative. Armed with her old report cards, glue stick, scissors, and a quick trip to Kinko's, she was able to create the straight A report cards that her parents expected. But she knew she would have to improve her grades before the final 2 years of high school if she wanted to get into college. Jennifer's activities out of school were closely monitored by her parents. Even into her 20s, she had never been allowed to go out with friends. Wow, oh my God. Without close supervision. She couldn't even hang out with her friends. Wow. Dang. She had never been drunk or gone to a nightclub. She felt as though she was missing out on her childhood, right? As she should, because she was missing out on her childhood. How do you put that much pressure on a child? Like, why? Why? They're children. Like, oh my God, I don't get it. And the controlling nature of her parents infuriated her. In her junior year of high school, Jennifer traveled with the school band to Europe playing the flute. If I was her, I would have went to Europe and would have never came back. When the band played in an auditorium that allowed smoking, Jennifer had an asthma attack. A fellow student and a trumpet player, Daniel Wong, took her outside and calmed her down. Daniel was a chubby, they did not have to say chubby. Daniel was a chubby, funny, and happy-go-lucky kid. He was also a part-time pot dealer. Okay. When he took the time to take care of Jennifer, it impressed her, and it wasn't long before they were dating. She gonna start smoking. But of course, she would have to hide the relationship from her parents. By the time senior year rolled around, Jennifer's grades still hadn't improved, and she continued forging her report cards. She had already been accepted to attend Ryerson University the following year, but when she failed her calculus class, Ryerson dropped her. Not only was she not going to go to university, she wasn't even going to graduate from high school with a failing grade. Nervous that her parents would find out, Jennifer continued forging documents. As far as they knew, she was going to Ryerson. She told them she would take 2 years of science and then would transfer to the University of Toronto's pharmacology program, just as her father had planned. Her father, Ron, was ecstatic and brought her a new laptop for school. Wow, this is gonna get real bad. I can already tell. What if she didn't even want to go to school? What if she just wanted to hang out with Daniel and smoke weed all day? Jennifer forged receipts for the tuition and a $3,000 scholarship, brought to use textbooks, and left every morning for school. But instead of going to school, she took the bus downtown and hung out at cafes and public libraries all day. She studied scientific subjects and filled her notebooks with notes as if she was attending class. Wow, that is so sad that this is what she had to do just so her parents can be happy or proud of her. She also spent time with Daniel, who was attending York University. She taught piano lessons when she could. That was nice. And worked part-time days at the pizza place where Daniel worked as the kitchen manager. I think Daniel is going to influence her to do something really bad. When Jennifer arrived home in the evenings, she made up elaborate stories about her lessons, teachers, and other students. She told very few friends of the huge lie she was telling her parents, knowing that if friends knew, it may eventually get around to her parents. Eventually, Jennifer convinced her parents to let her move in with her friend Topaz 3 nights a week. Topaz lived closer to campus, and she wouldn't have to make the long commute every day. But this was just another lie on top of all the others. She actually moved in with Daniel and his parents. His parents constantly asked to meet with her parents, but she made excuse after excuse. After two years of lying to her parents about Ryerson University, it was time for her to transfer to the University of Toronto. She found someone online to print her a fake transcript. Graduation from Ryerson was going to be tricky. Jennifer came up with an elaborate excuse that her graduation class was too large, and students would only be allowed one guest. Rather than choose between her mother and father, she gave her guest invitation to a friend so that both of her parents could attend. Jennifer's parents still didn't even know that she had a boyfriend. If they had known, they would have forbidden it. Though she lived with Daniel 3 nights a week, she wanted to stay more. She told her parents that she was going to volunteer at Toronto's hospital for sick children in their blood testing lab, so she would need to stay in the city on the weekends as well. This was the first time that her parents suspected of her lying. Her father knew that if she was working at the hospital, she would need a uniform and a key card, but she didn't have them. Han convinced his wife, Big, to follow her, but Jennifer knew she was being followed. Jennifer went to the hospital and sat in the waiting room all day until she was convinced that her mother was gone. Wow, this is so sad. This is so tragic. Her parents still knew that she was up to something, and the next morning they confronted Topaz, who broke the news to them that Jennifer had never lived there and was instead living with Daniel. When they confronted her, Jennifer confessed. She told her parents that she wasn't volunteering at the hospital. She wasn't attending University of Toronto, and she was staying with Daniel. But she still didn't tell them that she had never attended Ryerson University and haven't even finished high school. Jennifer's father was beyond livid. His first instinct was to kick her out of the house, but her mother, who was much more lenient than her father, intervened. Honestly, I would have left. I would have just been like, I would have ran away. I just would have ran away. Her parents forbade Jennifer from leaving the house for 2 weeks. What? I like being a mystery, end quote. I'm gonna see if I can find her post and I'm gonna put it on the screen. Eventually, she got access to her phone, and even though she was forbidden from having any contact with Daniel ever again, she would sneak phone calls and texts, and she would occasionally sneak out of the house. Every chance she got between teaching piano lessons, she would sneak to Daniel's house. Eventually allowed her to retake her calculus class to get the one last credit she needed to get her high school diploma. Then she would need to apply for any school that would take her. Her father was convinced that it wasn't too late and she could still become a pharmacy lab technician or a nurse. It's never too late to go back to school or to go to school. Meanwhile, Daniel was getting sick of all this sneaking around. She was 24 years old. Wow. So she was, at this time, she was 24 and still being treated as a 16-year-old. But her parents had full control over her love life. Eventually, Daniel broke up with her and started seeing another girl, Christine. Jennifer grew insanely jealous and concocted an elaborate story to regain his attention. She told Daniel that a man had come to her door claiming to be a police officer and showing his badge. When she opened the door, a group of men pushed their way into her home and gang-raped her. She then told him that the following day she had received a bullet in the mail. Jennifer told Daniel it was all a warning from his new girlfriend. She claimed Christine was trying to keep them apart. She's going crazy now. At this point, she's going crazy. By the spring of 2010, Jennifer had had enough. Her father was tearing her life apart, and she wanted it to end. She wanted her parents dead. In high school, she had heard stories of a boy named Andrew Montemere. The rumor was that he had robbed people at knife point and had once considered killing his own father. She contacted Montemere, but he wouldn't have anything to do with her plan, but told her that his roommate Ricardo Duncan might be interested. be home in time. Eventually, Crawford and Jennifer agreed on a date Monday, November 8th. At 9:30 p.m. on Monday night, Big Pond had just returned home from a night of line dancing with her friends. She gets to go out, but her daughter can't. Her husband, Han, had retired early and was already in bed. Jennifer's younger brother, Felix, was away at college, and Jennifer was in her bedroom watching television. Big kicked off her shoes and filled a foot bath with warm water to soak her feet and watch some TV in the living room before going to bed. At 9:35 p.m., Jennifer came downstairs, asked her mother about her night, kissed her goodnight, and discreetly unlocked the front door. She then went to her bedroom and spoke on her iPhone for 3.5 minutes. At 10:02, Jennifer turned an upstairs bedroom light on, then 1 minute later turned it off. That was the signal that the door was unlocked. Jennifer then sent a text, quote, VIP access. Moments later, 3 men came through the unlocked front door. Linford, who's homeboy, Crawford, David, and Eric Sniper Cardi, all had guns drawn. One man ran up the stairs to the room where Han was sleeping and put a gun in his face. He demanded that Han go downstairs where another man was watching over Big. Big and Han spoke to each other in Cantonese, wondering what they wanted when one of them yelled, quote, shut up, you talk too much, where's the effing money, end quote. Han assured him he only had $60 in his wallet, and Big pleaded with her assailants, please don't hurt my daughter. The third man, Cardi, went up the steps and met with Jennifer outside of her bedroom. Jennifer handed him $2,500 in cash and showed him another $1,100 that her mother kept in her nightstand. He then tied her arms behind her back with a shoelace and led her downstairs with her parents. The men took Jennifer back upstairs, tied her to the stairway railings while they took her parents downstairs to the basement. Moments later, 5 shots rang out. Han was shot twice, once in the face and once in the shoulder. Big was shot twice in the back and once in the head. Though Big died instantly, Han was bleeding profusely but still alive. After 18 minutes in the house, the 3 men left the front door and left Jennifer alive upstairs. Jennifer's Samsung flip phone was stuck into the waistband of her pants. Despite being tied with her hands behind her back, she pulled the phone out, flipped it open, and dialed 911. This is the 911 call. Help me, please. I need help. I don't know where my parents are. Please hurry. What's your name? My name is Jennifer. Someone just broke in. Someone broke in and I heard her shots like pop. I don't know what's happening. I'm tied upstairs. Did it sound like gunshots? I don't know what gunshots sound like. I just heard a pop. Screaming in the background. I'm okay. My dad just went outside screaming. Do you think your mom is downstairs too? I don't hear her anymore. Please hurry. I don't know what's happening. The screaming that was heard 34 seconds into the 911 call was Han. Covered in blood, Han crawled out of the basement and back to the main floor of the house. He then ran outside, screaming as loudly as he could. Nearby neighbors heard his screams and called 911 as well. When police and emergency crews arrived to the home, they found Jennifer upstairs, tied to the banister just as she said. Her flip phone laid on the floor next to her. Han was rushed to the hospital where he was put in the house? Why did he not try to help her? Their questions would be answered a few days later. Detectives set up 24-hour surveillance on Jennifer and even followed her to her mother's funeral. During the funeral, detectives noticed she had a lack of tears or emotion as they lay her mother in the ground. When Han awoke from his induced coma, his neck bone was shattered, bones in his face were broken near his eye. There were bullet fragments lodged in his face, and a bullet had clipped his carotid artery. Though he was barely alive, Han remembered everything and had a story to tell that differed greatly from the story Jennifer told. Han told police that Jennifer's story was all lies, like everything else about her life. He said that when the men rushed in, he was taken downstairs at gunpoint into the living room with his wife. When he looked for his daughter Jennifer, he saw her speaking in a friendly manner with a white man and walking around the house with him without any restraint. Police had already interviewed Jennifer twice, but on November 22nd, brought her in for a third interview. 2 hours into the interview, Detective Bill Coates began what is referred to as the Reed technique. The Reed technique is a controversial interrogation procedure that was developed in the 50s to evoke a confession. It has been banned in most European countries because it involves deceptive techniques such as lying to the suspect about the evidence against them and invading their personal space. Their procedure has been accused of leading to many false confessions, but it's still in use in most of the United States and Canada. Using this technique, Coates falsely told Jennifer that police use satellites and infrared technology to view activity within buildings. They had software that could tell if a person was lying. Jennifer succumbed to the interrogation and admitted that she hired the men, but not to kill their parents. She told police she hired them to kill her. She claimed that they had tried to commit the S-word many times in the past, but failed every time. She said she had hired a hit on herself. Quote, "I didn't want to be here anymore," end quote. She told police that her parents wouldn't allow her to see Daniel Wong anymore, and she wanted to end her life. She said the men were already outside the house when she decided to call it off, but they demanded the money anyway and burst into the house. She claimed that she couldn't pay them, so they shot her family instead. The cops stand by her story. They arrested her and brought Daniel Wong in for questioning. Daniel confirmed that she was lying once again, as she did with everything in her life. If she didn't want to go to college, or if she wasn't happy with how her parents treated her, why didn't she just run away? Like I stated before, just run away. But did she really have to kill her parents or kill her mom and attempt to kill her dad? People just do the most sometimes, I swear. Like, just leave, just run away. Why do you have to hurt somebody? Despite Jennifer destroying the SIM card, police were able to recover text messages from her iPhone and Daniel's phone to confirm her arrangement with the hitman. Jennifer, Daniel, and the 3 hitmen were charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. Jennifer's trial lasted about 10 months, and she took the stand in her own defense for 7 days, but it was no use. When she was handed the guilty verdict, she initially showed no emotion. Once the cameras left the room, she burst into tears and shook uncontrollably. Jennifer Pan was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. So, she snapped because she just had so much pressure, and her parents were so like just so strict, extremely strict. So I could see why she snapped. But was that the right thing to do? No, never. It's better to just remove yourself from a situation, even if it's your parents. Just leave. Just remove yourself from them, from their lives, if it's that serious. But anyways, I guess she just felt like she didn't have any other option, and I'm not trying to make excuses for why she did what she did, because what she did was extremely wrong. Extremely wrong. Daniel, I don't know how to spell his last name, and Crawford all got the same sentence. Jennifer was also given a non-communication order. She was no longer allowed to have any contact with the other defendants or anyone in her family. So now she killed her mother, or she got her mother killed. Of course, her dad probably doesn't talk to her. Of course. Her brother, she can't talk to her brother no more. She can't talk to anybody in her family. A situation that was already bad has just turned worse. When Cardi's lawyer became ill, his trial was declared a mistrial and postponed. So that's the third assailant. In December 2015, Cardi pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder and was sentenced to 18 years in prison with the parole eligibility after 9 years. Han Pan, I don't know how to pronounce his name, still suffers with his injuries and is unable to work. He released a statement after the trial which read, quote, "When I lost my wife, I lost my daughter at the same time. I don't feel like I have a family anymore. Oh my God, this is so sad. Some say I should feel lucky to be alive, but I feel like I am dead too. I hope my daughter Jennifer thinks about what has happened to her family and can become a good, honest person someday." End quote. I'm going to try to find an update of her now, because it's like 2022 now, and this was back in like 2012, 2013. So I'm gonna find an update, and then I'm gonna link her interrogation down below if I can find it. So that concludes today's video, today's story. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate you guys. Don't forget to comment below, like the video, and subscribe. Stay safe, stay blessed, and I'll catch you in my next video.